Hi folks, this is Winston again. I wanted to make another video to Darryl Sloan, and it's in response to his to one of his videos entitled "The Misguided Attempt for an Easy Life," or maybe it's "The Misguided Quest for an Easy Life." I don't quite remember, but in this video he was saying that he could have rented out his parents' house, which he inherited, and then made a passive income from that rental and then stopped working. But then he would be playing video games every day and serving himself, which would leave him unhappy and empty. So he was saying that it's better for him to go to work where he's surrounded by people and he's not lonely, and he's doing something productive and contributing to society somewhat, and so he was arguing that that's better than just serving yourself, and being financially independent and not having to work. Now, I kind of laughed at that because, I mean, that's a very narrow dichotomy. It's a very narrow spectrum because most people, okay, if they have a passive income, okay, they're not gonna just stay home and play video games. They're gonna spend it with their family, or they're gonna go travel the world and have fun and have exciting new experiences. Okay, that's what most people's dreams are. Okay, it's not to just stay home and play video games. Okay, so I don't know why he has such narrow choices in his life, but I just wanted to tell you, Daryl, that there's more options than those two choices. First of all, okay, you mentioned that you sold your parents' house, the one you inherited from them. No, I think that was a very bad decision. Okay, it was a very illogical one because any smart investor knows that when you have assets, you should hold it in something like property, for example, rather than cash, because cash depreciates in value over time, but um, property and real estate will have a stable value, and very often it'll go up in value. So you'll gain the value in assets, and you'll have more assets and a higher value over time. So it's always a better idea to hold your assets in property and real estate, not cash. So that was a very bad move. I don't know why you would do that because, I mean, any smart Chinese person would tell you that it's better to hold your assets in property and real estate. So what they'll do is rent it out. They'll have property and then rent it out, then make a residual income. And that's like the optimal best solution when you have money. When you have money, you should make it useful, not just put it all in the bank, where it's going to depreciate over time because inflation tends to go higher than interest rates. So, um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like a really big mistake you made with that. So I don't know what your reasons are, but I just thought in case you didn't know that's not a good idea for the reasons I mentioned. Um, and I don't know how things are over in Ireland, but in America, the the inflation is usually higher than the interest rate. So it's better to hold your assets in property rather than cash. Um, but I don't know how it is over in Ireland because I've never been there, so I can't say. Um, but anyways, back to this dichotomy. I believe your job is teaching children. You're a school teacher, and I guess that's somewhat meaningful because when you're working with kids, you get a sense of satisfaction, and the kids help you to feel young in spirit because they're young in spirit too. So it rubs off on you, and so you're able to maintain a childlike playfulness, and that's a really good thing that you need to have. But most people's jobs are not like that. Most people's jobs involve sitting in an office or doing construction work or factory work, and it's very, very menial and painful and very dissatisfying and very mind numbing. And so most people's jobs are something to dread. They live for Fridays and they dread Mondays, and that's a terrible way to live. Even animals don't do that, okay? And plus, the work environment in America is much more stressful and more negative because people in America, they constantly, when they're at a job, they're constantly living in fear of being fired. And in America, things are more controlled. It's like people, I mean, rules are more strict and things are more controlled because that's just how America is. It's a control freak society, and it uses fear to get its way. So even people who work like in a corporation or an office, they're constantly living in fear of their performance, getting fired, and it's a very negative, toxic environment. I don't know if you've been to America or not, but if you have, you'll know what I mean. Okay, and I don't think European work environments are like that because, in my experience, Europeans come from a more healthy environment. And European people in general are much more modest and down to earth. They're not as toxic and trying to bring you down like Americans are. So you probably don't have a very negative vibe at work like you would in America, where people are paranoid and control freaks and always living in fear. It's hard to explain what I mean. You have to come to America and work to know what I'm talking about. And those of you listening who are Americans, you probably know what I'm talking about. Um, but over in Europe, the work environment is more healthy, more reasonable, more down to earth. It's more of a positive environment compared to America. And that's true of Europe in general. If you see the documentary by Michael Moore called Sicko, which I think was made in 2007, he goes over, the how Europe's environment is a lot healthier than America's. So, but anyways, the point I wanted to make was that, um, I mean, going to work every day, I don't think that's an ultimate source of satisfaction because, like I said, most people's jobs suck and are very menial and boring, and they exist just to help make a corporation richer, which is not very fulfilling or meaningful. Whereas you're surrounded by kids in the classroom, which is, I guess, more entertaining. But what I wanted to say is that first of all, work is not. I mean, being a wage slave, which you saw as deemed more positively than most people, it's not really a good thing because you're trading. Essentially, you're trading time for money, and time is priceless. Money is not. So you're essentially trading something that's priceless for something with a price, and that's not a good trade. Okay, that's a very bad trade. Okay, I mean, this is assuming you don't really love your job, of course. So being a wage slave and living for money and trading your time for money is not a good thing. So a lot of people want a passive income like you could have had with if you rented out the second house you had. And so that's an ideal situation. A lot of people would do anything for that. I have a similar situation in that I run a website at happierabroad.com. Happier Abroad is spelled HAPPIER, abroad, like overseas, abroad.com. And I make a passive residual income from that. So I am in that situation and I know the benefits of it. And nobody who's self-employed and successful at it regrets it. They're always glad that for the freedom that they have from being self-employed and for not having a boss and not dreading Monday mornings going to work anymore. I mean, nobody who's successful in self-employment regrets it and wishes that they were back in an office again. Okay, I don't know if you know that, but you should consider that because you have a lot more freedom with that. And maybe you don't know what to do with if you had freedom, but but I do, and a lot of other people I know do. Um, we would travel the world, and that's what I do. I travel to different countries. I have fun. I date beautiful women. I have meaningful experiences. There are so many countries out there. There's like 200 countries out there, and you could never see the entire world because there's just too much to see. But when you go to different countries, like exotic countries, and I'm not talking about going to other Western countries like going to Ireland or the UK or to America or Canada. I'm talking about going to, excuse me, I'm talking about going to really exotic countries like India, China, Nepal, Russia. These are exotic countries where you can learn a lot, where everything is different, and where you're gonna have an interesting experience because when you're in a new culture and a new environment, I mean, you have a lot of new experiences, and these experiences tend to be meaningful. They tend to be with you for the rest of your life. And you also meet a lot of wonderful people that you never would have met. So every day is like an exciting new experience when you're traveling. Um, you could also see, like the pyramids of Egypt, which a lot of people have always dreamed to see. Um, Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia. There's just so much to see in the world, and you're never going to see it all in your lifetime. Even within one foreign country, there's a lot of areas of that country that you'll just never see because there's just so much to see in just one country. For example, even if you went to Thailand, I mean, you could spend a whole year and not see all the Buddhist temples there. There's just, even though it looks like a small country, there's actually a lot to see there. Or if you go to China and spend a year traveling around one province, you won't see everything because there's just too many things to see, too many towns and villages, exotic foods. Um, but here's the thing, okay? There are some benefits to traveling that you can't get at home. Some really big benefits, and I don't know if you're aware of them or not, but in case you're not, I'm going to tell you about them. Okay, one big benefit is that time goes slower when you are traveling, okay? And the reason is because when you're traveling to places you've never been to, okay, every experience is new, every experience is meaningful. From, looking at new coins in your hands to navigating through a map, through trying to find your way to somewhere to where you're going to stay tonight, um, to looking around the old town, the city center. Um, every moment is new, okay? And when every moment is new and different, you focus more on the now, okay? And then when you focus more on the now, as you have these new experiences, time goes slower because you're processing the present moment, as a new experience. Whereas in contrast, if you live a life of routine, like you go to work every day and then you come home and then you go to work every day, then you come home and you have that routine, okay, time is going to go fast because there are no special memories to remember, no special experiences to process, no new experiences, okay? And so when you don't have new experiences every day is the same. There's no difference between one day and another. So you don't remember anything. Like you don't remember where you were, last month on the 14th. You don't remember things like that because if every day is the same, there's no meaningful experience to remember. Okay, so when you are in a routine like that, life goes faster because for some reason it's just because you're pretty much on automatic pilot. You just go through a routine every day, and then life seems to go faster. Time seems to go faster, and that sucks because the faster time goes, the older you get, and then then the less life you have. So I mean, how when you were a little kid, time seems to go slower, and a year, seemed like a long time. because when you're a little kid, everything that happened was more like a new experience. And since your life was, was only five was only a few years, okay? I mean, your life as a kid, I mean, if you're between 5 and 10 years old, for example, your total life has been so short that every week, every month seems longer than when you're an adult and you've had a lot more time. But that's another subject. But what I'm saying is that, um, yeah, when you are traveling and having new experiences and meaningful experiences every day, the time goes slower. So that's one major benefit of traveling. And also, the experiences you have are more meaningful. They stay with you for the rest of your life, you know. And meaningful experiences are things that can't be expressed in words. They're very personal. I mean, what's meaningful to me may not be meaningful to you, but when you travel to countries that you love that are interesting, you have more meaningful experiences. Okay. Um, but you don't have them when you have a life of routine where you're a wage slave and you go to work and go to school and come home and I mean go to work and come home and it's you're pretty much just a robot, following a programmed routine. And once you start I don't know how well traveled you are, Daryl, but once you start traveling the world, you know what I'm talking about, and then you regret it. You wish you had done it sooner. Okay. Um, I mean, what? I mean, there are great places to see even in Eastern Europe. You could go to Italy, Greece, to Romania, Bulgaria. Um, even in Eastern Europe, I mean, it's very interesting, very exotic. Lithuania, Poland, Latvia, those are all very interesting countries with a very positive, friendly vibe to me. Um, and then there's even countries that very few people even know of that are like new frontiers, like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan. You know, those are like unexplored frontiers that are not very well known. And not a lot of people even know they exist. So, anyways, getting back to the subject, oh, the benefits of traveling, and then there's a second benefit that you might not have be aware of, which I've written about, but maybe not a lot of other people have, and that is that when you travel a lot, okay, it's kind of like a meditation. You're kind of practicing meditation because if you think about it, one of the goals of Buddhist meditation is to try to detach from things, detach from your desires and wants and the emotions. Because when you're attached to things, um, you it creates suffering. Okay, excuse me. When you're attached to desire or things, it creates suffering when you can't let go. But traveling helps you to let go because when you're in one place and then you move to another place, you let go all of the experiences you had in the previous place, as well as all the people that you met in the previous place. So when you jump from place to place as you're traveling, you keep letting go of the previous environment. Okay, and when you do it a lot, you start and you've practiced letting go of different environments and different people, it almost becomes like a meditation practice in that you've trained yourself to enjoy the experience, to enjoy the moment, but then you let it go afterwards and go on to the next place. So it's sort of a meditation practice too. And so I don't know if you know about that, but if you ever become a perpetual traveler, like I've been before, um, start to understand the benefit of that. And also, it gives you more meaningful experiences, which enriches your soul too. When you have more and more meaningful experiences, your soul, your inner life gets richer as well. And I'm sure you know about that because, like me, you said that you're not a materialistic person either. Okay. So I'm just saying that um, there are options if you didn't have to work. You don't have to stay home and play video games. I mean, there's a lot of other exciting things you could do, which is travel the world, meet people, make new friends, date women, fall in love. I mean, you don't have to be lonely just because you don't have a job. Okay. Um, I mean, that's kind of sad if your job is your only social life. I mean, I guess that's how it is in a lot of Western countries, especially America and maybe Ireland too. I don't know. I haven't been to your country, but America is like that because once you get out of high school in America, and even in college, this is true. Once you get out of high school, it's like everyone's in a bubble. They no longer want to meet people or make friends. They're just in this bubble. And all they want to do is work and make a living, and they just don't want to connect with people anymore. Everyone just wants to be left alone. They just want to be in their private space. So it's like if you didn't find a girlfriend or a wife in high school or college, you're kind of screwed because there aren't really any social opportunities for adults. Because adults in America, they only talk to people for business. Okay, they don't go out and make friends or something because it's kind of assumed that once you get out of college or high school, you already have a spouse, you already have your own family, you already have your own friends, and so you don't need to meet any more people. It's kind of assumed so it's like it, but in reality, if you didn't find a spouse or a clique of friends, you're pretty much screwed. In America, that is. Um, I know in a lot of European countries it's not like that because people are still more open to strangers. So I've been to Europe before, and so I know that. I mean, it's easier to meet people than it is in America because people are more open and positive towards strangers. So you could go to a restaurant or a cafe by yourself, and the people sitting nearby will talk to you and start a conversation, and it's very easy and natural. Okay. I don't know about Ireland, but I can tell you that most European countries are like that. So Europe is definitely not a place that you should be lonely in. Um, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Ireland is kind of cliquish or kind of similar to America or the UK, but most of Europe is not like that. In most of Europe, the social environment is more inclusive. People people like meeting new people. They like hanging out. I don't know. It's easier to meet women too. They're not as stuck up as in the U.S. or Canada. Okay. Um, and the further east you go, the more wild and open it gets. Like Russia, for example, it's a very wild place where anything goes. You know, I mean, it does have a high crime rate, but it's also a place with a lot of energy. It's never boring in Russia. There's always something happening. You always meet people, and people have a live for the moment attitude, and they're very authentic. They'll never give you a fake smile. To them, to in countries like Russia and China, being honest and being authentic is more important than being polite. Okay, and that's the way I like it. I think being honest and being real is more important than being polite. But countries like America and also my native country of Taiwan, they're not like that. They're all about being polite rather than being honest. But anyways, back to the subject. I keep getting off on a tangent here. Um, oh yeah. You mentioned that you're single and that you only have a few friends and you're not dating anyone and aren't in a relationship. Well, I wanted to tell you something important. I spent a lot of years living in the Philippines, and if you want a girlfriend or a wife, it's a very good. The Philippines is a very good place for guys like you and me, Daryl, because we're not like most people. Okay, we are deep thinkers. We are intellectuals. We are more of a philosopher type of person, not a materialistic type of person. And we like to think, whereas most people don't like to think that much. Okay, so it makes us kind of eccentric to a lot of people. Okay, and it means we're going to think for ourselves, which means we're going to form a unique personality in ourselves. So we are more unique in that we think for ourselves. So our wavelength, our mental wavelength, is going to be different than most people, than the mainstream. And it seems like um, a lot of women, especially Western women, they're just not attracted to guys like us, okay? Because Western women tend to be attracted to guys that are more simple, more positive, more politically correct, okay? And more lighthearted. For some reason, deep men, I mean, men who are really deep in their soul and in mind, I mean, they just don't bond or connect with women very well, okay? Because women prefer people that are more lighthearted, not so deep, okay? And especially Western women, but there's an exception to that, which is in the Philippines. Um, the women there, the thing is, the women there are very easygoing. They don't judge men very much. As long as you're a nice guy, they don't mind if you're eccentric or you're deep or you're an intellectual. I mean, they're very, very relaxed and easygoing, and they appreciate everything about you. Even if you're eccentric or weird or a misfit in your society, um, they just don't judge us that way. So a lot of Western men, they go to the Philippines. It's very popular there for Western men because I mean the women are very sweet and soothing, and they don't judge us. Okay, you talk to anyone that's lived in the Philippines, and they'll tell you the same thing. Or anyone that has a Filipino wife or a girlfriend, they'll tell you that the women there and the girls are very non-judgmental, and they're very compatible with guys like us because they don't argue. Okay, they're not demanding. They just go with the flow. And I know the women there are not as educated or brilliant as a Western woman might be, but that's okay because their sweetness and their warmness makes up for it. Okay, and guys like you and me, okay, in my experience, guys like you and me, when they go to the Philippines, they feel at home there. So this is just something for you to consider. The next time I go to the Philippines, I just want to say that you're always welcome to come. I'd be glad. I'll be glad to show you around and help you find a girlfriend or a wife if you want to. If you ever want to come visit the Philippines, and I'm there, I'll be glad to meet up with you and help you get settled, help you find a girlfriend or a wife if that's what you want, and you can be happy. You can have a relationship again if you explore possibilities and opportunities outside your border. Okay, I just wanted you to know that you have choices out there, you have options out there. I just wanted you to know that. So I don't want you to think that that you're in this small country called Ireland, and if you don't find anyone there, then you're pretty much out of luck. No, there are 200 countries in this world, And if you don't find love in your country, there's nothing wrong with going to another country to find love. Maybe it's better for you. Maybe you'll be happier. A lot of guys are. There's a lot of Irish guys, British guys, Australian guys in the Philippines, and they live with their wife there or their girlfriend, and they're happy. So it's possible. I just want you to consider that. And if you ever still want a relationship or love, there's a lot of single women in the Philippines that don't have anybody, that don't can't find. There's like a shortage of good men there, a shortage of good men, and a surplus of good women. So there's a lot of nice girls there that can't find a guy that would be happy to date someone like you or me. Okay, and they're very easygoing. You can have a very peaceful relationship with no arguing, no fights, no hot tempers. Okay, because most Filipino girls are very easygoing, non-judgmental. They go with the flow. They don't mind that we're eccentric. So it's one of the best solutions for guys like you and me, because mainstream women don't relate to us. They don't like deep thinkers or philosophers. You know how it is. Okay. So I am similar to you in that I'm a deep thinker, so I can relate to feeling alienated from Western society, um, which I was in America, But once I started going to once I started going to Russia, to Asia, to the Philippines, to China, to Thailand, once I started visiting other countries like that, I realized that I'm much happier abroad. I don't have to be lonely just because I'm a misfit in America or in the West. I can go out in other countries, meet people very easily, smoothly, naturally. I feel good about myself, and it's much better for my mental health because I don't have to go out like in America and feel judged or feel like I'm not accepted, which doesn't make you feel good. Okay, so I'm just saying there's a lot of countries out there where you will feel accepted even as a deep thinker or philosopher and not feel like you're some weirdo who doesn't relate to the mainstream. And even if you go to a very materialistic country like China, for instance, which is obsessed with money, you'll still have a better experience there because the people there are very down to earth and real. They're not fake, okay? Um, and the women are very feminine. And in some cities like Shanghai or Shenzhen, half the women look like models, and it's unbelievable. It takes your breath away. Um, yeah, I mean, you don't see that in Western countries where half the women look like models or could be models. And they're very, very feminine, which is what men like. Very feminine women. Being very feminine is attractive to us men. And Western society does not honor or respect that. But China still does. And don't believe the US media. There's not a shortage of women in China. I spent 7 months in China and I see more women than men there. So I don't know where this bullshit lie comes from that there's a shortage of women there. I don't see it at all, and it's baloney, bullshit. I can tell you that from firsthand experience. You go there and you'll see what I mean. There's a surplus of women, and like half the women could be models. I mean, whew, it's unbelievable. I could show you some pictures sometimes. But anyways, um, I just wanted you to consider this, okay? Since you're still single, that you could come to Philippines or Indonesia or maybe China, and you could find a good girl still that's going to be very feminine, very sweet, and accept you for who you are. Because in a lot of other countries, you're not going to feel like an outcast just because you're a deep thinker or an intellectual, or you think for yourself. Okay, a lot of countries just don't judge you that negatively. They're very, they're just not like that. You'll see what I mean once you start going to more exotic countries. Okay, so I just want you to know. So I just wanted to tell you not to give up hope, that you can still find a good girlfriend or a wife if you come to the Philippines. And if I'm there, you're always welcome. I'd be glad to show you around to help you find a girlfriend or a wife. I'd love to meet you someday. You seem like a great guy. You're very authentic and real and deep, just like I am. So I think we would. I mean, I think we're kind of like kindred spirits, because I see the same authenticity in you that I do in me. So I sort of feel like we're kindred spirits. Okay, and I can relate to you, but I just don't know if your mind is broad enough to know the things that I'm talking about, because you haven't mentioned them before in your videos. So, and if you don't know about these things, and this is all new to you, then I hope this has broadened and expanded your mind. Okay. I mean, I hope the stuff I'm telling you has opened your mind and broadened it and expanded it. Okay, and given you more things to consider, and to let you know that you have options and alternatives. You don't have to stay in Ireland and either stay home every day or go to your school, your job. There are so many other options out there, and I'd love to talk to you about them sometime if you're interested, of course. Anyways, I hope I've given you some things to consider, and feel free to email me sometime, or Skype with me if you want. Um, yeah, so yeah, I'm always here online if you ever want to discuss any of this. Okay? I hope you've enjoyed this response, and have a great day. Bye.